Hello there. Hope this video finds you well. I'm sure you are combing through piles of grants that have been sent your way, and I just appreciate your time, and I want to say thanks in advance. But I'm excited. I'm excited to share with you how I would love to use this grant. So, first off, my name is John Scoma. I teach 4th grade in Jenison Public Schools at Bursley Elementary, which is a Title I school. And I am in love with teaching mathematics, and I'm always trying to figure out ways to improve my craft and to provide a greater experience for the students that is more equitable and inclusive and provides for all the learners' needs so that everyone can be successful and grow. And so I'm hoping that after viewing this, you can see how this grant will really impact my classroom. So thanks again. So before I get into what exactly I want to utilize the grant on, I want to kind of take you on the journey that kind of started this whole thing for me and what got me thinking. One of my favorite podcasts that I really began listening to over the quarantine was Making Math Moments That Matter. And I was listening to a podcast that was interviewing Peter Lehegedal. It's hard for me to pronounce his last name, but he talks about building thinking classrooms, and the content he was sharing just seemed just really intriguing and easy to implement in your classroom. And one of the items he talked about was vertical non-permanent surfaces, and it got me thinking, what might my classroom look like if it had vertical non-permanent surfaces, and how productive are my groups that have more than one marker? How productive are my groups that are sprawled out on the floor versus groups that might be standing up? And so I just purchased his book, Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics, and I'm looking forward to reading more in depth about his research. But as you can see in some of these pictures and videos, you'll see students who, when on the ground and whatnot, just have a tendency to disengage, to kind of sprawl out, to allow others to take the lead. So I'm hoping that through this work and this research, this might vastly improve the group work that is happening in my classroom. So what are vertical non-permanent surfaces? If you take a moment and look at this infograph, you'll see that what vertical non-permanent surfaces have the students do is they are standing the entire time, that one student, or there's one marker per group, and that the optimal number of students in a group depends on the age range, but at 4th grade, after tweeting to Peter, he mentioned that 3 is the optimal number in a group that they found. Some of the research found was that the time to the first notation was faster. They started writing faster. They took more risks because it was erasable. So they knew they could try something, and if it felt more safe. The eagerness to participate and discuss and persevere was increased. Linear of the work was more accurately reflects the thinking process, and the mobility of knowledge. So Peter talks in his podcast about how students being up like that would kind of wander off sometimes and look at other people's boards, and he talked about how that wasn't a bad thing. It wasn't cheating. It was allowing the students who maybe were stuck and struggling to analyze other students' work and come back and maybe have some new ideas to share with the group, putting more diversity of ideas into the group. And so as you see here through a series of these pictures, These are images from my classroom where I had some groups that were working on the floor with multiple markers, and I had some students who were working on vertical non-permanent surfaces with only one marker, and the engagement was really impressive, in particular with the groups that were standing and only had one marker. And as you see here too in this video, you can hear the discussion that they were having about solving this problem. So the problem I have run into is I have several options for non-permanent surfaces. I got two big whiteboards. I have large whiteboards that are portable. I was actually able to win a book of white books that you see in one of these images, and I felt like I had everything I needed, but being a fourth grade teacher, I'm charged with teaching all the subjects. And with that comes a lot of stuff and a lot of curriculum, a lot of materials, one of which is my classroom library, which I'm extremely grateful for, but that takes up a ton of room. So as you see these pictures go by, what I want you to see is the limited space I have for the students to put up a board or a white book page and to work against a vertical surface. I have a series of places, but there's just not quite enough. I've gone as far as you see on the closet here, I was going to move the handles of my closet either quite low so that they could work there. I thought about using my closet door here, but it's a narrow door, and I measured the door was perfect size, and then there was the door handle, and thinking about the height of fourth graders, it just wasn't reasonable to go above that. So I was running into a snag with finding space for the students, especially in this COVID era, where I could get all the groups vertical. And so there I was stuck. So fast forward several weeks or months, and an email comes across my inbox about this grant opportunity, and initially I dismissed it, not really knowing what I would utilize the funds for. And then a couple days later, it just struck me, like, what if I got this grant and I had the opportunity to purchase whiteboards that were on easels? This would allow me to set them up around the room. We have plenty of space in the room. We can be a foot or two off the wall where I have lots of items. And I can set them up, and they're portable. They collapse beautifully, as you can see here. So they can be stored just like my other big whiteboards that I'm sure I could gift to someone else, since I would have these. And I was able to look on Amazon and find that for a reasonable price, especially given that the grant would be for $500, I could supply a whole class set for my students to work in groups on vertical non-permanent surfaces. And this image here too shows how the beauty of how the teacher can kind of be central and can be going around to all these groups, and they're along the periphery. And so I jumped on board and decided to make this video, and the rest is history, I suppose. In closing, I want to share how I hold the belief that it is important to share those best practices that we uncover with those around us and those who are also doing common work. And so it is my hope that after having multiple experiences with these vertical non-permanent surfaces and tweaking things and seeing the growth in the students and collecting the data, that I would invite others from my building, from my district, from outside of our district to see how these vertical non-permanent surfaces have transformed and impacted the learners in my space. And a couple ways I would do that, like I said, is by inviting them in, but also I have quite a bit of experience utilizing swivel, and I would be happy to use the Kent ISD swivel that I have in my possession now, or if that is no longer in my possession, I could utilize our district swivel and share out with those who are unable to get out of their classrooms or are at too great a distance, and so that this opportunity I have could hopefully impact people beyond just my classroom. Well, I hope that I was able to paint a picture for you of how I intend to use this grant money if I'm blessed enough to receive it, and how I not only am going to hold these ideas and this blessing within my own classroom, but how I might share it with others within my building, district, and beyond. So thanks again for taking the time to listen to my ideas and to consider this proposal. Take care.